Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
The SAP reset date, please.
It's the 28th of January.
Thank you. It's not quite 2 o'clock. We'll get started as soon as everyone gets on with us.
Hey, Judge Morrow, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How's it going this afternoon?
All right. Can we start with position number 8 first, Mr. Nicholas Johnson? I need to
Okay,
have him in the courtroom by himself.
okay. Let's see, who's representing Mr. Johnson?
I am, Your Honor.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chutaya.
Good afternoon.
Your Honor, that's Miss Allen's case.
Okay.
As soon as she logs on.
Okay, good afternoon, Miss Allen. This is position number 8, Nicholas Johnson. Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize his service. Mr. Johnson, you've been charged in case 25 CR 000243F with 3 counts of simple battery, criminal trespass and damage to property, and one count of battery and 1 count of simple assault. Let's see, is there a history? Who do we have on from pretrial this afternoon? Ms. Roberts?
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. I didn't see this name on my pull sheet, so I'm just trying to pull it up. Is somebody able to tell me when he came into custody?
Ask the question again, Ms. Roberts.
When did he come into custody?
He was booked in on the 4th today, actually. Yeah.
Today? Let me look. I didn't see the pull sheet this morning.
He was added on Roberts.
Oh, okay. Okay, I found it. They had it for tomorrow. His last arrest was July 2020 out of Clayton County for criminal trespass. That case was dismissed. He only has 2 cycles, no convictions, and nothing further to add. His recommendation will be a UJR through the jail.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Allen, good afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell me what position we're on? I'm sorry.
Position number 8, Johnson.
Thank you. So, Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred, I believe, on the 9th. Let me make sure. This is an incident from the 9th of January. Police were called to the racetrack gas station at 1180 Virginia Avenue at about 5:40 in the evening. There they met with a witness, a third party who was independent. They were able to obtain surveillance from the location, and they met with the victim's husband and wife who had come to the location to get gas, last name Gonzalez. Brian Gonzalez was the first person that encountered the defendant. He reported that while at the pump, the defendant came up and accused him of stealing his space, saying he was there first. He ripped the victim's bank card out of the pump machine, bent it, and was holding it. The victim went to get his card back from the defendant. The defendant struck him, causing a laceration on his thumb, and then shoved him into the side of his vehicle. At that point, the wife of the victim, her name is Yvonne Gonzalez, got out of the vehicle. I would point out that their 2-year-old was asleep in the vehicle at the time. Yvonne Gonzalez got out of the vehicle to try to intervene. The defendant backed up, told the victims that he was law enforcement, and motioned to the gun that he had on his hip. The victim's wife, Mrs. Yvonne Gonzalez, tried to intervene and de-escalate, at which point the defendant slapped her, struck her on her arm, and then shoved her against the vehicle repeatedly. Third-party bystander came forward, showed police that they had videotaped portion of this on their cell phone, showed it to police. Police then obtained surveillance footage as well. They were able to determine who the defendant was based on his vehicle and the information about his vehicle. He came in and was interviewed by police. He admitted demanding that the victim move. He admitted taking his credit card and trying to toss it away from the pump. He admitted pushing the victim. He said that he showed his firearm, admitted he was armed, but said he didn't really show it. He has 2 prior arrests that were dismissed, Your Honor. We've spoken to the victim and his wife today. They confirmed the information in the warrants and are requesting no contact. Your Honor, we're asking for a $6,000 SOB. That would be $1,000 on each of the charges, I believe. Through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no contact with the victims, Brian and Yvonne Gonzalez.
Mr. and Ms. Gonzalez are on the line and wish to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, any objection to any of that, Mr. Trataya?
No objection.
All right, for each count, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial, makes for a total of $6,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with either Brian or Yvonne Gonzalez, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, except for those used in the course of his business. Good luck to you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, you want me to go to medical next, Norris, while you get the courtroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Who do we have in medical?
Norris, do you remember the position number, Norris?
Do you have the name?
Hilliard.
Ms. Hilliard? Okay.
That's number 6, and that's my client.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Rockwell.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just regarding position number 8, is there a way we can expedite the paperwork?
If Ms. Bridgewater gets it to me now, I'm sitting at a computer, so I can get it back to you as soon as I get it.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Will do, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Let's see. And this is position number 6, Ms. Hilliard. Good afternoon, Ms. Hilliard. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. It's my understanding that you're represented by Ms. Rockwell this afternoon. Ms. Hilliard, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0000239A with 2 counts of simple battery and 1 count of reckless conduct. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, last arrest was October of 2020 for criminal damage to property, terroristic threats. That was out of Clayton County. appears to be on first offender probation from that case. The disposition was November of 2022, 3 years probation. The 2017 conviction for disorderly conduct, a open case out of the cab from 2020 for terroristic threats and obstruction to officers, and then one FCA from 2023. Level 3 would be pretrial recommendation. And nothing further.
Afternoon, Ms. Desiano.
Good afternoon, Judge. This incident took place on January 11th. Officers were dispatched to the apartment complex at 2900 Landrum Drive. They were called there in reference to two persons who had been shot. Upon arrival, they made contact with the victims in this case. Their names are Shaniqua Bular, Bular, and Janae Young. Janae is Jhawnea. They are the upstairs neighbors of the defendant. Ms. Bular advised to police officers that she had received a call from her neighbor, whose name is Miss Kashona Williams. She lives at the location with the defendant in the downstairs apartment. Miss Williams had called her neighbor and asked her to go pick up her child from her apartment because she was having a dispute with the defendant, who is her ex-girlfriend. There was some sort of dispute about the girlfriend watching the baby. Mom calls the neighbors and says, "Hey, can you go get the baby?" The neighbors go downstairs to get the child, and Miss Williams had asked if the child could be kept with them until she gets off work. So they go downstairs, they knock on the door, and the defendant answers, and Miss Bular explains that she's there to get the child. The defendant refuses to release the child, and the defendant gets angry. There's a heated argument. She strikes the neighbor, Miss Bular, and threatens to harm her. This is escalating, and so Miss Bular calls her partner down from upstairs, who's Miss Young, Miss Janae Young, for assistance. And Miss Young comes downstairs, and the argument continues, and the defendant strikes her as well. At some point during this argument, the defendant is threatening to go get her gun. She's threatening to harm the two victims, and so Miss Young goes upstairs and grabs her firearm. She brings it down, and she's got it in her pocket, at which point the defendant lunges and tries to grab the gun from her pocket and successfully gains control of her firearm. Everyone starts tussling over the firearm and wrestling, and as you can imagine what happens, the firearm goes off and it shoots Miss Young and the defendant in the foot. We've been in touch with both of the victims today. They state that they confirm the events in the warrant. They state, to be clear, Your Honor, the warrant doesn't mention any of this. The report does, however, corroborate what the victim told us today. There was a shooting. She was shot. She has a very injured foot. She's provided evidence of that to the state. They obviously want no contact, and everyone's at risk of being kicked out of this apartment complex now in light of this incident. And so at this point, Your Honor, she's on first offender probation. She's got history. We're requesting a $10,000 surety bond. Absolutely no contact with Miss Young or Miss Bular. Stay away from their apartment upstairs. No weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And if you could sound for Miss Bular and Miss Young, thank you.
Either Ms. Bular or Ms. Young are on the line and wish to address the court. Now will be your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Ms. Rockwell?
Judge, we have an extreme disagreement with the facts. The only thing we agree with is that they brought the gun to the party. I'm talking about the alleged victims. For the record, Your Honor, she is 25 years of age. She was born in Atlanta, did attend Stevenson High School. Obviously, as the Madam Prosecutor did state, she was living at the residence below the victims. She will be living with her mother, Judge, in Stone Mountain. So there's not going to be any danger of any contact, any unwanted or casual contact or accidental contact with the alleged victims, unless, of course, they move to Stone Mountain. She was working. She is now injured. She'll probably be off of work for about at least 90 days. She was working at Captain D's as a cashier and gainfully employed there. Judge, so I know there was probably some kind of a request for a $10,000 surety bond. I think more important than the particular amount of the bond, Judge, would obviously be the no contact. So I'd ask the court instead to make it a $5,000 bond. Obviously, no contact, no weapons, no replicas of weapons, no drugs without a prescription. I know it's not a drug case. I'm gonna have her sign up just because I sign all of my clients up to a full-blown anger management class. I can find her one that's authorized to be done online while she's sitting at home for the next 3 months trying to recover from this. Again, Judge, we are, as I told you, in disagreement with the facts. So, with that being said, Judge, I would ask that good bond be set, but just not quite that high. Obviously, she won't be able to work for the next 3 months.
For each of the simple batteries, it'll be $1,000 good bond. For the reckless conduct, a $3,000 good bond makes for a total of a $5,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Bular or Ms. Young. Stay away from their residence, their apartment on at the Landam Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Judge, it's gonna take a little while for her to be up and about. I don't know how to actually do this, but could she have a one-time return with the police escort
Yes,
to get her belongings?
That's fine, Ms. Rockwell. She can go back to the Landam Drive address. I didn't restrict her from the apartment, but if she needs to, and it sounds like she can go back to that apartment complex one time with an escort, a police escort, to retrieve her belongings.
Okay, thank you so much, Judge.
You're welcome. Anything
May I
further?
be excused? And let me
Yes.
just verify 25 CR 0000239 A alpha.
That's correct.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused? I'll
Yes,
be filing an entry. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Madam Prosecutor. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Rockwell.
Thank you.
And that bond for courtroom 2 was one each for the simple batteries, 3,000 good for the reckless conduct, for a total of 5,000 good. Okay. All right. Who do we have next?
Can we go to position number 2, Ms. Chloe Conley? I believe she has private counsel.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Conley. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000235J with false report of a crime. Let me just go through. I don't know if I've for all those in courtroom 2. Good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon. It's my understanding, Ms. Conley, that you are, who's representing Ms. Conley this afternoon? Is that Mr. Spiesman?
Hey, Judge, I'm here on Miss Zimmerman, which I thought was next. So
Oh, okay.
I might have gotten switched.
Okay, so who's representing Miss Conley?
I thought it was Attorney Carly Corbin.
Judge, that's my office, but we're representing Charlie Zimmerman.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
and then we'll go to
since we have her sitting there, can we just, who's representing her?
Me, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, Mr. Chatai, can we just go ahead and get her done since she's there?
This is Zimmerman, position number 17 over here at ACDC, Judge.
Okay, so let me get Miss Zimmerman next. Let me go ahead and get Miss Conley now, since I've already spoken to her. So, does Miss Conley have a record? Is there a history?
No, Judge, first arrest.
First arrest, Ms. Desiano?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened back in December on the 16th at the Target in East Point. The defendant works there or did work there. Not sure if she still does. She claimed that she was assaulted in the Target parking lot on the 16th while she took her lunch break. And there's camera footage of the parking lot, and it shows her entering and exiting without being assaulted. It's her first arrest. We're requesting an SOB, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. Chataya?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, $1,000 signature bond through the jail, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Conley. Now we'll go to position number 17, Ms. Zimmerman. Good afternoon, Ms. Zimmerman. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000249G with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No history, first arrest.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that happened at 3180 Matheson Drive Northeast. The victim in this case is Ms. Zimmerman's mom. It's reported that during a conversation about the need to engage in some MH services, the victim became angry, or the defendant became angry and struck her mom multiple times with a closed fist on her arm, her right arm, while she was sitting down and they were talking. They lived together. There were no visible injuries at the time police made the report. And you just heard that this is her first arrest. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons unless the drugs are prescriptions that are prescribed, an evaluation for mental health and medication compliance, and no violent contact with her mom, Mrs. Nancy Zimmerman. She's also, we're requesting through her that the defendant stay away from the location, 3180 Matheson Drive Northeast. We did speak to Mrs. Zimmerman briefly, although it was difficult to get clear about what she wanted because her defense attorney was on the phone. So he is here, and so is she, if he's down for them. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Swanton.
Thank you, Judge. I am, in fact, that defense attorney. Your Honor, that's all accurate. We did speak to a victim advocate from the state's office, and I did obviously was retained by the Zimmerman family. They do want to have contact with Charlie, and obviously they also want to make sure that she's getting whatever MH help she needs. For right now, the request that they've made through the state is that Charlie not be able to go back to the family home, but they do have some other arrangements for her to ensure that she's safe and she has a place to be in the interim. And then perhaps after some treatment for MH, she can, at that point in time, return back. There's a possibility, Judge, that she may need to travel outside of state to get that treatment. So we would just be asked that that be part of her conditions of release, is that she can travel to a facility outside of Georgia for any treatment related to this. There was potentially somewhere that was lined up. So just easier to do it on the front end than the back end.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, you have no objection to the mental health evaluation?
There's a family. That's what the alleged victim has asked for.
Okay.
So I think that's probably going to be a component that would be important in this anyways, but that's what the request of the victim is.
Okay. Anything further?
Nothing, Judge. We'd actually go along with the conditions of release and allow her to travel out of state for help if she needs it.
Okay. As such, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, a mental health evaluation, and any treatment that may be necessary. If that treatment involves traveling out of state, of course, she can do that travel to get that treatment. No further violent contact with Nancy Zimmerman. Stay away from the Matheson Drive address. If necessary, she can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, but she is to remain on any prescription medication that she's currently on for mental health. Okay, anything further, Ms. Zimmerman?
Nothing, Judge. And Miss Charlie, real quick, they're going to let you sign some paperwork and then they're going to process and release you, okay? So it's going to take a little bit of time through the Fulton County Jail, but you'll be on your way out, okay? You give me a thumbs up that you heard me? Okay, I think we got it. All right. Thank you, Judge. That's all I had.
All right, have a good afternoon. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Judge. Take care. Nice seeing you.
You as well.
Bye, Anna.
Okay, before we go on, give me 1 second to get this paperwork back to courtroom. Okay, Norris, I've signed and returned that paperwork to Ms. Bridgewater, so you should be getting it momentarily.
Thank you, Your Honor. We
You're
can finish
welcome.
with ACDC.
Okay, who do we have next?
Thank you. It's gonna be position number 7, Johnson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Johnson. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000240F with 2 counts of battery and 1 count of simple battery. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
She has 2 cycles. The last arrest was October of 2023 for theft by taking. I did not see any convictions. Level 2 is pretrial recommendation.
Okay, Ms. Desiano.
And Your Honor, that theft by taking is open. It's 23 CP 22407. She's out on a UJR through the jail.
Okay.
This incident took place on January 13th at the Hyatt in Sandy Springs, 4785 Peachtree Dunwoody Road. 911, officers responded there to a dispute between employees and a guest, who the guest is the defendant before you. On scene, when the police arrived, the defendant was very aggressive and shouting loudly. Officers told her to stop and she walked away. There was a dispute at the hotel over the defendant leaving some money in her room and the money being missing from her room. She got her money back and continued to be irate and was causing a scene. One of the employees, it's the first victim, Reina Reyes, was struck while she was trying to speak with the defendant and calm her down. Another employee, Mr. Alana Melvis, intervened and tried to de-escalate the situation, and he was also struck in the face. There was another victim who is unnamed at this time, who was bitten by the defendant on his right arm. He was seen to have a bite mark there. And he was trying to hold her down to stop her from striking the other employees. The manager who was initially struck, Mr. Melvis, had a visible injury to his face. There are videos of this incident, cell phone videos and surveillance. We've been in touch with Ms. Reyes today. She says she works at the hotel. It was a dispute over the money that was in her room. She said that they were trying to calm her down and she was attacked. They obviously want no contact and they want her to stay away from the hotel. We're requesting a $3,000 surety, Your Honor. No contact with the victims in this case. Stay away from the hotel. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if you can sound for the victims, we know their names for Miss Reyes and Mr. Melvis. Thank you.
Ms. Reyes or Mr. Melvis are on the line to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, Mr. Chutaya, is this your case? No? Mr. McLean, is this your case?
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Johnson is 27. The prior arrest was as announced. She's been a waitress for 9 years. We would ask that despite the prior arrest, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, and in lieu thereof, if the court is not leaning that way, then a $1,000 shirt. Thank you.
Okay, for each of the batteries, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. With a simple battery, it's $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Reyes, Mr. Melvis. Stay away from the Hyatt on Peachtree Dunwoody Road. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Johnson.
Judge, you also said it was a level 2, correct, for the signature bond for pretrial?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one. Be safe.
Do the same. We'll see you next time. All right, who do we have next in courtroom 2?
We're gonna go to position number 1, Mr. Brooks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brooks. You've been charged in case 25 CR 000234J with criminal trespass and damage to property and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Total of 3 cycles. Last arrest was September of 2023 for criminal trespass out of Fayette County. There was no disposition listed for that case. No convictions listed. Level 1 is pretrial's recommendation. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Desiano.
Yes, Judge, he's also got a arrest in May of 2023 for battery and then 2019 for disorderly conduct. No dispositions for either of those listed. This happened on December 30th at the MARTA bus loop at the College Park station. There was a bus driver there who said that the defendant boarded her bus, asked her a question. She didn't know the answer to the question, and the defendant became irate. And when he got upset, she asked him to get off the bus, and he punched the front door window of the bus and broke the glass. And after they identified him, he was identified through another officer. He's wearing the same clothing as he was in this incident. It was discovered that he was issued a suspension from MARTA from an earlier PI incident that took place in November of 2024. We're requesting a $500 good bond per count. Stay away from MARTA, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Your case, Mr. Chutaya?
Yes, Your Honor. So in addition to the limited history that we just heard, my client is 30. He's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, though he is not seeking treatment right now. My client informed me that he briefly enrolled in Georgia Military College, a community college, and that he underwent basic training in the U.S. Army, but ultimately was not enlisted. With that in mind, we ask the court to consider the possibility of a signature bond, but if that's not possible, then we ask for the lowest bond amount that's reasonable for his case.
Does he have a place to reside?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Your Honor, given the information provided by the defense, the state would also request a BH.
The BH. Behavioral health. Anybody on the screen know what a BH is? Oh, I was talking to whoever was on the screen.
For each charge, it'll be a $250 good bond, makes for a total of a $500 good bond. I want to have a social worker visit to assess for the need for a BHET. Abide by any MARTA suspensions, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If he doesn't get out, Mr. Chutaya, if you will have the social worker report back to me at the SAP calendar, I'd appreciate it.
So what do I explain my issue to whoever it is on the television or whoever?
We done. Come on.
Cause I
Hold on, Mr. Brooks, you can talk to Mr. Chutaya after the court session this afternoon, okay?
Come on.
Don't
bring him out. If you bring him out on the outside, talk to him in the hallway. Yeah. Next is gonna be position number 3, Mr. Tyrone Cooper. Come on, Mr. Cooper.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cooper. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000236C with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
42 cycles. Last arrest was from September 2019 out of Pulaski County for disorderly conduct. That case was dismissed. Last conviction was in 2012 for simple battery family violence, obstructing or hindering a person making an emergency telephone call, possession of cocaine conviction in 2012, and a battery conviction in 2012. Prior to that was a 2002. Level 3 is pretrial recommendation and nothing further.
Staciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place January 13th. Incident location is 3263 Greenbrier Parkway, apartment B 307. There was a dispute there between the defendant and his longtime live-in girlfriend, whose name is Maddie Carter. She said that she went to her sister's house for a couple of hours on the incident date, and while she was gone, the defendant called her 5 times. She got home and she says the defendant was talking crazy, saying things like, "You let someone come into the house through the patio door," not making much sense. He grabbed her, struck her on the side of her head. At that point, she grabs a glass figurine to try to defend herself. The defendant knocks it out of her hand and struck her again. The victim had a laceration on her nose and eye area where she had been struck, and she moved to the bathroom and called 911. We've been in touch with her today. She confirmed that they're in a relationship and they live together at the incident location. They share no children between them. She states that the defendant has MH issues. He's refusing to take his medication. And at this time, she wants no contact and would like for him to stay away from the residence. She also states that he does not need a one-time escort because his brother is coming to pick up his belongings from the residence. And Your Honor, it's been some time since his last arrest. However, he does have a pretty significant criminal history and several violent convictions. We're requesting a $2,500 surety bond, no contact with Miss Carter, stay away from her residence, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if you can sound for her in case she's joined, thank you.
Ms. Carter's at the line. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Shataya?
Your Honor, my client is 62 years old. He has been a lifelong resident of Atlanta. He finished school up to the 10th grade, and he currently receives disability payments from Social Security. So if he stays in jail longer than 30 days, he will likely lose those checks. And he also sends money to his 19-year-old granddaughter regularly. Now, given the circumstances, we request a signature bond, but if the court is not willing, then for the lowest bond value that is reasonable. We do not object to the stay away. He has a place to stay with his niece in the Atlanta area, but we would ask for a one-time police escort so that he can retrieve his belongings from the incident location.
And Your Honor, the state would also request an order that he remain medication compliant.
It will be $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Ms. Carter. Stay away from the Greenbrier Parkway address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. He is to stay medication compliant, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Cooper.
Next is Mr. Rahim. I'm not sure the position of it.
Tell me the last name again, please.
Rahim.
Number 13.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Rahim. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000246Y with wearing a mask, hood, or device which concealed your identity and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
6 cycles. Last arrest was December of 2024 for criminal trespass and criminal damage to property. That does appear to get probation 24 CR 007-152Y. The disposition was January 2nd of this year, 12 months probation. Then one other theft by taking conviction in 2020. Level 2 is pretrial's recommendation, nothing further.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 13th, specifically on Georgia State University campus in front of the Longdale Hall location. That's 38 Peachtree Center Avenue. The defendant has previously been arrested by the same police, Georgia State University Police, for loitering, being belligerent, as well as trying to snatch phones and food items from students there. That was the 2022 disorderly and robbery attempt that was later dismissed. His current probation case is related to the racetrack gas station on Cam Creek, where he was belligerent to police, refusing to leave, saying he was there to make some money and they needed to do their job when he was arrested after being previously criminally trespassed. This incident occurred at about 5:30 in the afternoon on the 13th. Georgia State Police were doing a vehicle patrol by that location, 38 Peachtree Center, when they saw the defendant wearing gloves and an orange ski mask. He walked from in front of that building into the green space area there, also the property of Georgia State University. Police told him to stop, to talk. He ran. And when he was apprehended, he said, I was wearing the ski mask so you wouldn't talk to me. There's some concerns about MH, Your Honor, based on the prior incidences and his repeated issues on campus there at Georgia State. We're asking for a $2,000 surety. He's currently on probation. He just entered a plea on the 2nd of January in SAP on that case, dealing with the gas station at Camp Creek. A social worker visit, and stay away from all Georgia State University locations, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
And he been previously criminally trespassed from the Georgia State campus?
No, but he'd been previously arrested there for snatching items from students, including a cell phone, and just being belligerent there on campus.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we've already accomplished or started the first half of whichever it was, the social worker visit while here in court. We agree with the stay away from the campus. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond. I've spoken with his dad. I have not spoken yet with his mom, with whom he lives. So medication compliance, he says he's cooperative and wants to get on the medications. So we look forward to accomplishing that. We'd ask the court to consider a signature bond with conditions.
All right. For each count, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. A social worker visit to assess for a BHET. He is to stay medication compliant. He is to stay away from the Georgia State campus and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Rahim.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 4, Mr. Michael Friedlander.
Good afternoon, Mr. Friedlander. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000237E with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, and 1 count of terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No history, first arrest. Usually all through the jail was pretrial recommendation.
Okay. Who's presenting from the state?
I'm sorry, Judge, which one is this?
This is position number 4, Mr. Friedlander.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said a different one. That's my case. This
Okay.
happened on December 21st at around 7 a.m. Police responded to 546 Clifton Road regarding a domestic dispute that had happened earlier in the night, about 11 p.m. the night before. The victim is Sarah Bartlett. She's the defendant's wife. she told police that her husband assaulted her and threatened to kill her. They were discussing family and holidays, and the defendant got very angry and shoved her against a wall, and then threw a dog toy and a backpack at her and told her to get the fuck out. The victim said that during this altercation, the defendant also told her he was going to kill her. The defendant or the victim had no visible injuries. However, she did complain to the officers that she was experiencing neck pain after she was shoved into the wall. We've been in touch with her today. She states that they're married, but they are in the process of filing for divorce, and they no longer live together. They share one child together. She did confirm the events in the warrant. She states that the defendant has been violent with their property in the past, but never physically violent with her until this incident. She says that the defendant has now left the residence and is residing somewhere else, and that the defendant has expressed remorse to her since the incident. She says that she wants contact and she's not in fear. So we're asking for an SOB through pretrial, no violent contact, in order for the defendant to complete 1 day of anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and if you can sound for Miss Bartlett.
Opportunity. Any objection to any of the state's requests, Mr. Chutaya?
No objection, Your Honor. I just ask that if the court intends on imposing a stay away condition, that we ask for a one-time police escort to retrieve his belongings from the incident location.
Okay.
We're not requesting a stay away, Your Honor.
Okay. For each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Miss Bartlett, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Friedlander.
Next is going to be position number 5, Mr. Harpoot.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harpoot. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000238J with hit and run and improper erratic lane change. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
First arrest, UJR through pre-trial level 1 was pretrial's recommendation.
Okay, Ms. Tessiano?
Your Honor, this is a hit and run that happened back in May. The person that was hit reported the incident to police and took a picture of the tag. The investigation led to the defendant's father, and the father spoke with police and said his son was driving the vehicle at the time. It's his first arrest. We're requesting an SOB, no weapons, drugs, alcohol. Thank you.
Mr. Chutaya?
No objection.
All right, for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, a defensive driving class, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Harpoot.
Your Honor.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 9, Mr. Alvin Jones.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000244G with 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, first arrest.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that happened on the 9th. Police were called to the location where this gentleman lives with his wife, the victim, Carla Johnson. That's 3545 Sandbar Lane. That's in South Fulton. Police were called at about 1 in the afternoon. On the scene, Mrs. Carla Johnson reported that during a verbal altercation, her husband began striking her multiple times with his hands in her face. He then grabbed a broomstick and struck her on the back. She reported that there'd been prior physical disputes, but they'd never been this bad, and the defendant had left the location in his vehicle. Police saw marks on her arm as well as above her right eyebrow as a result of being struck. Police were actually called back to the location yesterday on the 13th, where the defendant was located. There was another altercation, and the victim had actually gone and obtained her firearm in order to protect herself. When police arrived, they realized that the active warrant from the 9th was there for the defendant, and they took him into custody. We've spoken to Miss Carla Johnson. She reports that they are married, but they share no children. She would like no contact and a stay away. The defendant will need a one-time escort. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons to stay away from that location and no contact with Ms. Johnson. And if you would call for her, thank you.
And he wasn't charged with anything. Yes. He was still-
I have no information about the 13th, Your Honor.
Okay. If Ms. Carla Johnson is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Any objection to any of the state's request, Mr.
None,
McLean?
Your Honor. None, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, for each charge, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Carla Johnson, stay away from the Sandbar Lane address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement if necessary to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Jones.
You done. Next is gonna be position number 11, no, number 10. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Mr. Andrew McCoy.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Great.
three defendants on the docket, Mr. McCoy, Andrew McCoy, Mr. Jeffrey McCoy, and Mr. Mason Strong are all co-defendants that were arrested together, Your Honor.
Okay, so do we have Jeffrey McCoy and Mr. Strong also in the courtroom?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll take up first Mr. Andrew McCoy. Do we have one of them that's not Yeah, Mr. Chitaya.
Your Honor, my office conflicted out all three defendants. I sent the forms to Mr. Michael Jordan and made it known to everyone this morning that I was conflicting all three of them out. So.
Okay, all right. So your office is not gonna represent. Ms. McLeod, who do you represent? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I actually spoke to all three of them. They're father and sons. And, their stories are all the same.
Okay. So you're gonna represent all of them?
Yes, Your Honor, because I don't see that there's a conflict.
Okay.
Have they waived any conflict? I mean, that's really unusual.
This is just their bond hearing.
Okay, so I'll proceed for now. If you believe a conflict arises, let the court
You
know.
can always conflict out.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. McCoy. Mr. Andrew McCoy, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0000241C with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Does Mr. Andrew McCoy have a history, Ms. Roberts?
He has one prior arrest from 2020 for burglary and criminal damage to property out of Fulton County. That case was dismissed. UJR jail was pretrial's recommendation for position 10.
Okay, since I have you there, Ms. Roberts, does Mr. Jeffrey McCoy have a history?
He has a prior arrest from 2003 for battery. That case was dismissed. UJR jail was also pretrial's recommendation.
Okay, and what about Mr. Mason Strong, position 14?
I'm showing his last arrest from March of 2024 for a CWAC offense out of Fulton County. I was not able to get that case number if it's still open. That was the only thing I saw. Level 2 is pretrial.
I can give you that information, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll wait till we get to Mr. Strong to get that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Ms. Roberts. Yes, Ms. Allen.
I just would reiterate that being co-defendants in a criminal case is a conflict. It's not about an opinion, it's an actual fact. For Andrew McCoy, Your Honor, you just heard, his history is the least, basically, of the three. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB bond through pretrial, no contact with his co-defendants, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Essentially, police on the 12th of January were called to 17 Peyton Place Southwest, non-party, so a third party, not the three people arrested, was the 911 caller. It was reported that there was a fight in progress, that there was a firearm present. On scene, police actually observed the three individuals physically fighting each other. The 911 caller reported that her brother Jeffrey was being assaulted by his two sons. So just some context there. Police, before they even approached the house, could see that there was an issue. They could hear a dispute from outside the location, and they knocked on the door. When the door was opened, they saw all three defendants physically assaulting each other. They were separated, and then they continued to fight and engaged again after being separated by police. Police tried to separate the three individuals multiple times, and they ignored police's commands. They were pepper sprayed. That point, Andrew McCoy, the defendant in front of you, pushed the other two defendants. So he pushed his dad and his brother into the house and locked the door behind them. So police could not follow. Police gave commands for the door to be open. All three individuals refused. And then one co-defendant, Mr. Mason Strong, popped out of the window upstairs and told Officer Washington specifically by name that he would shoot and kill him when he was able to see again. The warrant jumps basically and says eventually all three individuals surrendered. Andrew, the defendant in front of you, I believe, had a firearm located on his person, and it was taken into evidence. So Andrew is the person in front of you. I previously said we're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, surrender all firearms. The only information I have about his criminal history is that he's got a 2020 burglary and criminal damage to property in the second degree that was dismissed.
Okay, so who is the father?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey
McCoy, Your Honor, his dad.
Jeffrey McCoy is the father, Andrew McCoy is the son, and Mason Strong is a son?
He is a son as well, Your Honor, their father and two sons.
Okay, and they were all involved in this altercation, just the three
Your
of
Honor.
them? Okay, so Ms. McLeod, I'm gonna allow you to represent Mr. Andrew McCoy since we're on that case. Given that I didn't realize that this was a fight amongst the three of them, I think that the other two are going to require additional counsel. I will give them the opportunity to either proceed pro se this afternoon or wait for tomorrow so that we can get some additional counsel if necessary. So I take it that. Go ahead, Ms. McLeod, as far as Andrew McCoy goes.
Mr. McCoy, Your Honor, he is 25 years old. I believe he told me he was 25 years old. I actually spoke with all three of them. He has no significant criminal history at all. He lives with his dad and his other brother. They have all lived together forever, for their lifetime, and it determined they've always lived together. This was just an unusual situation for them. They were just having an argument. There was a little bit of alcohol involved, not a lot. They weren't stark drunk, but it was just a little misunderstanding. It was just nothing. And all three have told me that they have no issues with each other. They live together. This is their home. So I would ask that anyone to be conditioned on no further violent contact. None of these three people have any significant criminal history. And my client certainly does not. So I will represent Andrew, and I would ask for a signature bond for him through to jail because he doesn't have any history of any violence. And this was a call made by someone else. It wasn't a call made by any of them. I just wanted to point that out to the court. And they've all expressed that they are okay with each other. They have no issues living together. And asking for them not to have any further contact would be a huge hardship for all three. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll grant your request as far as no further violent contact, but if I do that, I'm gonna send them through pretrial and I want them to have anger awareness if they're gonna be around each other. So for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Jeffrey McCoy or Mason Strong, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, good luck to you, Mr. Andrew McCoy.
And Your Honor, would you include that he surrender the firearm that was located in his
Oh,
case?
of course, and no, so no weapons means that you're gonna have to surrender that firearm, Andrew.
Your Honor,
Okay.
the police took it from him. That was my understanding, that they actually took that firearm.
Okay, well, he can't get it back then, is what the request is, I believe. So he's to have no firearms. Okay? All right, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Okay, and this is Mr. Jeffrey McCoy. Yes, Mr. McCoy, you've been charged in case 25 CR 000242C with simple battery family violence, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and simple battery family violence. Anything further to add, Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, the battery from 2003 was actually amended. He pled guilty to a simple battery family violence, was ordered to undergo a substance abuse evaluation. That's 04CR 294240. Based on that prior and the refusal to comply with law enforcement officers' orders, we're asking for a $2,000 surety. Again, no contact with the co-defendants and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
For your next hearing, Mr. McCoy, if you qualify for a public defender, you'll have to make application. You can make application. As far as today goes, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with either of your two sons, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you.
Finally, this is Mr. Mason Strong. Good afternoon, Mr. Strong. You've been charged in case 25 CR 000248C with 2 counts of simple battery family violence, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, and terroristic threats and acts. Mr. Strong, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. Unfortunately, today we do not have an attorney that can represent you. If you would like to wait until tomorrow to move forward when we can get you an attorney, you have that option. If you would like to proceed pro se without the advice of an attorney this afternoon, we can do that as well. What would you like to do, Mr. Strong?
Represent myself.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Allen.
So Mr. Strong is the third in the trio here, Your Honor. He's the individual who was identified specifically telling Officer Washington by name that when he got outside and was able to see better after being sprayed, he was going to shoot and kill this officer. That was recorded and seen and observed or heard by witnesses, other law enforcement on the scene. I requested this case be transferred based on the fact that that's actually a felony terroristic threat. I have not had a response from the DA's office yet, Your Honor. He is currently out on bond. He's got a $7,500 surety bond on an open case. That's 24 PI 001772. He was arrested in March of 2024 for a battery of a CWAC nature. We are asking for a $9,000 surety for this gentleman. That would be 1 count, $1,000 on each of the simple batteries and obstruction, and the remaining on the terroristic threats, Your Honor.
Would you put that CWAC charge in the chat for me, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts, remind me again what pretrial's recommendation was?
Pretrial's recommendation was level 2.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Strong, for each of the simple batteries, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the obstruction, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the terrorist threats, a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $10,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness. No further violent contact with either your brother or your father. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Strong.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod. We appreciate your help today.
You're welcome.
Miss Allen, for Mr. Strong, he also had an affray and disorderly conduct. I didn't receive NOD for those.
I'll send that to you. I'm sorry if I missed that one. I sent the other guys, right?
Give me the other two, yes. I just wanted to make sure.
All 3 defendants, Your Honor, came in with not just simple battery, but basically duplicative charges for affray and disorderly, which don't make sense. So I'll go ahead and send that.
Thank you. Mr. McLean, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any of the documents that you can give to Mr. Strong or Mr. McCoy to make application for your services so that we can pass it along to the conflict attorney?
We don't have any forms at the jail courtroom, but we can email something or make them available.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you do that so that if they do qualify, that they can go ahead on and get counsel. Okay.
So they need a form for all 3, Your Honor?
No, Mr. Andrew McCoy, he's represented by Ms. McLeod, so he won't need I guess he won't need a form, but I think the other 2 might. Okay, just so we can move it along. Thank you, I appreciate it. All right.
This is going to be position number 12, Mr. Santos Perez.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Perez. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000245F with requesting an ambulance for service when it wasn't reasonably needed. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
I show 16 cycles. Last arrest August of 2024 for FTA. Appears to have an open case for pedestrian and roadway, pedestrian under the influence, and willful obstruction. That case number is 23 CR 003-236F. A willful obstruction conviction 2013, criminal trespass conviction 2013, a furnishing to purchase of or possession of alcohol below legal age 2012 conviction, then a willful obstruction conviction 2012. Level 3 is pretrial's recommendation. Nothing further.
Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, you did hear about some history from pretrial. I would note that what is significant to the state is a terroristic threats conviction in 24 SC 002903. That was disposed of in August of 2024. Initially, that case also had with it the same charge that's in front of you today, requesting an ambulance when not needed, as well as a disorderly that was dismissed when he pled guilty to the felony terroristic threats. That is significant because it's out of the same jurisdiction, Your Honor. The police documents here in this case note that in this incident on the 12th of January, the defendant called the police to 222 Ivywood Lane in Roswell. He specifically asked that police not come, but that fire and EMS respond because he says he was having seizures. He specifically asked that police not respond because this is what he does very frequently. And let's see. He's been transported 70 times since June of 2023 and has made 119 calls for service based on the same allegations that he is having head pain or arm pain or experiencing seizures since January of 2023. So he's been told not to misuse the police system. That's why now he says, I don't need police, just send me an ambulance. Ambulance responded, said that they'd transport him to Northside Cherokee Hospital. They actually had to walk him to the ambulance. He couldn't walk on his own. He smelled of alcohol, had slurred speech. When they went to the house, he was sitting on the couch with a freshly opened cold beer next to him. And then he complained in the ambulance when they said they were going to take him to Northside Cherokee because he wanted to go to Wellstar North Filton. And they note that that's interesting because usually he says he doesn't want to go there because they know this guy very well. He then requests to get out of the ambulance and tells the staff that he'll just get an Uber and take himself to Grady, which is a great articulation of the fact that he really was not in an emergent situation and was just tying up services that would be better suited for other people. If you're well enough to call an Uber to Grady, the 1 out of 3 hospitals that you'd rather go to today, that's a clear indicator. It's noted in the police documents that he'd called the same day for an ambulance and had been arrested. And again, it said he didn't want police. So police took the defendant into custody here at his house after he refused to go to the hospital where this ambulance would receive service. He then peed himself in the patrol vehicle, was taken inside the hospital at Cherokee Northside using a wheelchair. When he was asked by staff what his complaint was, what was hurting, what the problem was, he responded by yelling and ranting that he was upset because he was in handcuffs and he was being arrested. He never provided any answers to staff there or medical personnel about what was wrong with him. He was medically cleared. He was medically cleared. As he was waiting, he never made any complaints about seizures or chest pain, and he was taken to Alpharetta Jail. He also had recently started giving dispatch a different name, and he's made multiple 911 calls from a different address. So when I told you earlier that he's made 70 calls since June of 2024 and 119 since January of 2023, those don't include the calls he's made when he uses a different name or a different address, Your Honor. Hospital staff on day before yesterday, the 12th, said that they were not going to do a CT scan on the defendant, not only because he didn't complain of any head pain, he was upset he was going to jail, but because they'd done so many. They're worried about his exposure to radiation. And he has never been noted to have a seizure in front of any of the staff in the hospitals when he's been taken in to be treated. So based on the information in front of you, he also has a open case for DUI, pedestrian in the road at obstruction, and multiple convictions for furnishing alcohol to children underage. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd ask for a mental health evaluation and a substance abuse evaluation, please.
Any of those other open cases in Fulton County, Ms. Allen?
Yes, his pedestrian in the road and DUI is 23 CR 003236F. He's got furnishing alcohol, 2 different cases from 2012. Oh, 4 different furnishing alcohol to minors cases from 2012. Criminal trespass convictions, 2 of them in 2013, multiple probation violations. and that open obstruction and DUI pedestrian. So there's clearly an issue here.
In the 2024 FTA, do you know what that was, which case that's associated with?
His GCIC says it is Alpharetta Municipal Court. He was
Okay.
released after 3 days.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Perez is 33 years old. I did hear part of the criminal history of arrest that had dates in 2013. In 2015, as was noted in the police report, 10 years ago, he was in a car wreck. The seizures that he does have come from that time period, I believe. There was a reason why sometimes he prefers to hospital. He once was in a coma for I believe a month. I don't have any verification yet, but you kind of trust the hospital where you got good treatment, but then again, the state did say that he oftentimes does not go to that one. Your Honor, considering what the charge is and considering that he does have a stable address, we're trying to figure out a more civil solution rather than criminal for this overall situation. I would ask the court to consider signature bonds back home with appropriate instructions. And we have already accomplished a social worker visit here in the courtroom. We're trying to get hold of his relatives. He does get a disability check.
And what were are there any results to that social worker visit? Anything somebody can tell me regarding?
Yes, sir. Here it goes.
The police documents do say that he had a traumatic brain injury over 10 years ago, but since then has had no seizures in front of police, has started giving a different name when he makes these phone calls and is described as aggressive. Police often respond to his 911 calls, even though he specifically asks for them not to, because he is aggressive.
Your Honor,
What can you tell me?
in regards to the MH request, he denies having any MH issues. Having a traumatic brain injury doesn't necessarily go away with particular treatment. He is in fact being treated for seizures. He does take the medication of Keppra, which is a seizure disorder medication. If he didn't have seizures, I don't believe he would be prescribed a seizure medication if he doesn't have any history of seizures or anything like that. With the traumatic brain injury that he received 10 years ago, he's not under treatment with a mental health provider, but he is receiving treatment from a doctor at Grady.
Okay. Is he on any prescription medication for that at the present time?
Not from MH. Traumatic brain injury sometimes they don't necessarily medicate it. It's done through therapy, counseling, like that. And he doesn't indicate any medications that would assist with MH.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
He can go forward with the proceedings today. He understands well.
Okay. It will be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Only request ambulance service if there's a medical necessity. Remain medication compliant, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Perez.
Yes. Come on. Yes, definitely.
And Your Honor, Ms. Desiano is going to present the rest of the calendar today. I've got to jump off for an appointment, may be excused.
See you next time. Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, who do we have next?
This is the last two positions, Mr. Walker, Marsha Walker, 15 and 16.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Walker. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000247B with criminal trespass and giving false information to law enforcement. and in case 25 CR 0000250B with reckless conduct. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I'm showing one prior arrest from July of 2022 for theft by receiving stolen property. That case was dismissed. Nothing further. Level 1 is pretrial's recommendation.
Ms. Desiano?
Yes, Judge, we'll start with the criminal trespass and false info. This case happened, let's see. Maintenance encountered the defendant at apartment 2 of 1794 MCCLELLAND Avenue. This was a vacant unit that was vacant as of December 29th, and this incident took place on the 13th. So the apartment complex, I expect it to be vacant. The locks were supposed to be changed by maintenance and the unit was left open. The defendant was found in there. He provided a false name. He provided Yabara Gerardo as his name. He had to be fingerprinted in order to be ID'd, and he was found to have an active warrant out of Cobb for theft as well when they ran his GCIC. For this one, Your Honor, we're asking for a $2,000 signature bond, stay away, no contact with Mr. Darius Howard, who was the person that was also in the location with him, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And do you want me to go ahead and do the other one, or do you want to rule on this one first and then? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Judge. You want me to go ahead?
Yes, please.
The second case happened on January 4th. The police were called out to 3745 Leisure Lane. This is an address in South Fulton. On the porch, they encountered the victim, who was Kashawn Ferris. He's a 19-year-old. He had suffered a gunshot wound to his right leg that entered and exited the leg below his knee. There was blood seen on the scene and inside the garage near the sofa. The victim reported that he and his two friends were on the couch. The defendant was one of them. The defendant was sitting to his right. The defendant was cleaning and breaking down a loaded firearm, and it went off. The defendant fled before police arrived, and the victim did say it was accidental. The firearm was seized by the defendant on scene before he fled. He provided, the person who was shot provided the contact information for the defendant, and that's how he was identified. There was one witness to this incident who corroborated what the victim said happened. He was hospitalized. Your Honor, for this one, we're requesting a $10,000 surety bond, absolutely no firearms, stay away from the incident location, which is 3745 Leisure Lane, and no contact with Kashawn Ferris. And if you can sound for him. We have not been in touch with him today.
Mr. Ferris is on the line. I wish to address the court. Now is your opportunity. And on the sheet, Ms. Desiano, it says the offense date is January 2024. Is it 2024 or 2025?
Oh, let me look. Sorry. Let's see. 2024, Your Honor. Apologies.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. McLean? You're on mute if you're speaking.
They've unmuted me. Thank you, Your Honor. The squatting allegations, Your Honor, are from this January, and the other was from a year ago. So we would ask the court to consider signature bond for everything in that the recent charge is the only trouble he's been in since a year ago. Your Honor, he is 19 years old. He has a high school education. I've been trying to get hold of his family. I've not received any answers to the phone calls. I've tried his brother, his mother, Your Honor, he does have that Cobb hold, so he will go take care of that. I don't know if it's a small matter or not. I'm hoping that it is. And he says that it is. Your Honor, he works at Amazon Fulfillment Center when he attends the Promise GED program. So, Your Honor, he lives on Cedarhurst Trail. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond on both of these so he can go to business. Thank you.
Lives with him at that Cedarhurst Trail address.
Who lives with you there? My mom. His mom.
Okay, and what's his mother's name?
Letitia.
Letitia Luton. How do you spell Luton?
Letisha. Letisha.
Right, that's Letitia. Letisha.
Luton is Luton.
Luton. Like futon with an.
Okay, if I release him, he's gonna need a parental signature to get him out. So I take it that that's gonna be his mother. So you're gonna have to get in touch with her so that she can be responsible for him. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just keep, Your Honor.
I'm gonna call her when I get out of here.
I've been calling.
All right, for position 15, the criminal trespass, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 for the false name, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from the McClellan Avenue address, no further contact with Mr. Darius Howard, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, while out on bond. He'll need to have a parental cosigner, Ms. Letitia Luton, to get him to sign for him.
What's that last name?
It's Letisha Luton, is my understanding.
Okay.
You're welcome. For position 16, it'll be a $10,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, the same parental cosigner. Stay away from the Leisure Lane address, no further contact with Mr. Ferris, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, and to surrender any firearms that he has. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello? Hello, can anybody hear me? I'm Marsha Walker's mother.
Okay.
I was sitting in listening to everything.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you come on screen for me, ma'am?
Let me see screen.
On video. Okay, there you go.
I don't know how to work it.
Okay, I see you there. I see you there. You're Miss Luton?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you?
Oh, right hand.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, right. Yeah, you're good. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, so I've released you can place your hand down, ma'am.
Okay.
I've released your son on a signature bond, but he's only to be released to you. So I'll have Mr. McLean get in touch with you so that he can get you the proper forms. So that you can, and I take it that that you're willing to be the parental co-signer to get your son out of.
Yes.
Okay, and anything that you need, do you know, is your son working? Is he in school? What's going on with him?
Yes, he's in school and also working.
Okay, where is he in school?
He's in school at a GED. It's a GED program off of it's up there near Greenbrier. I forgot the name of the place, but I just know how to get there from taking him back and forth.
Okay, so he's in school getting his GED, and where is he working?
Amazon.
Okay, how often does he work?
With him going to school, he works off and on, maybe about 3, maybe 4 days out the week.
Oh, okay. Ms. Luton, I didn't realize you were driving. I
Yes,
can't
I
talk
am.
to you. Okay.
I'm
I can't.
parking now. I'm parking now.
Okay, so I'm gonna release your son to your care. Okay, but you're gonna have to make sure that he attends any court sessions that he has coming up. Okay.
Okay.
All
And
right, thank you,
Miss
ma'am.
Walker, Your Honor, do you know where the firearm is that was used in this incident?
I don't know anything about that. No, I don't.
Okay, the judge has ordered that he surrender all firearms, okay?
He doesn't have any firearms with me or anything at all. So I don't know where any firearm is. And that's honest God, no truth. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you own any firearms in your
No, I
residence?
don't. No, I
Okay,
don't.
that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here, ma'am.
All
Your
right,
Honor,
thank you.
when she does the cosign, he will go to Cobb.
Okay. So do I
And-
come co-sign or do he just go to Cobb? I don't know. I don't know the procedure.
It's an electronic procedure. I'll get your email from you. And if you'll answer your phone when I call from a 770-842 number, I will I'll get your email, send you the form, you sign it, send it back to wherever it says.
Okay.
Actually, once you sign it, it automatically goes back, I think.
Okay.
All right, thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Okay, does that complete the 2 o'clock calendar?
It does.
I believe it does. If so, Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I am ready. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is January the 28th. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 3, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 4, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 5, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $5,000 good bond. 7, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $6,000 SOB through pretrial. 9, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 10 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 11, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 12 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 13, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 14, reset further notice with a total $10,000 SOB through pretrial. 15 and 16 has a cosigner. Position 15 is a total $1,000 SOB through pretrial, and 16 is a $10,000 SOB through pretrial. 17 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Okay, if not, thank you all. I will see you next time. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.